Hello everyone, this is my public transportation review for my city of Montrose that I built up over the summer. So before I begin, I kind of like to just kind of mention that if any of you are kind of interested in having like high ridership for your public transportation, then there's kind of like a certain formula that you have to follow. So largely I kind of based my formula, the way I built my city, I kind of built it along the lines of a public transportation planner, Jarret Walker, has kind of laid out in terms of the basics of high ridership. So I'll kind of link his blog below in the description so you can check it out. It's well worth the read. So without further ado, let's get into the city. So first thing I'd like to mention is that throughout the city there's like hardly any highways. I think again there's like a few areas where you do have highways, like the highway that comes in, and this is also a vanilla map obviously because this is on PS4. But again, it kind of comes into here and it kind of turns into more arterial roads rather than highways. So again, kind of over here it turns into an arterial road. And again, I kind of also over here I briefly kind of used a kind of a highway area here, but usually again it's largely arterial roads. So yeah, again, kind of my inspiration for this city was Vancouver, and I know that in Vancouver they had like I think they pushed back against the building of highways, so I kind of wanted to challenge and not using highways and instead having to rely more on public transportation. So let's kind of begin. I'm going to start off with let's probably cover the heavy rails. So for here I kind of put in like rail lines here called the frequent blue service. It's kind of flashing in blue, not sure if you can see that, but again it kind of starts over here in this corner, kind of heads through to the university, and also heads over here into this kind of transit hub where it kind of links up with the monorail. Comes over here, see where the blue train is going, and kind of it's elevated over here. It kind of goes across another arterial road, and then here it kind of splits right here. So it heads here, the Jade Shores hub. And over here you've got it's where the cargo air trains come in for the industrial sector in the port. And then over here, this is where the blue line terminates here. So it's kind of interesting. So yeah, I think this also works because in terms of mixing the lines in this case, again, I only have one rail line that I'm using for the city, and I kind of split it off in some sectors for again, over here is really only where I have some backup, so in that area there. And then over here largely I got like a bypass, so I don't have to worry about backups with the trains, so they can just trains coming in and out of the city, cargo and intercity passenger can just go past the blue line. Then over here I've got my other cargo line, so it kind of works out well. Next we'll kind of cover the monorail line. I kind of named it the prime line. There's only one line so far, but I'm kind of considering putting in another one. My logic here is just I think it's a good thing to have like a mass rapid transit system for the city. Kind of beginnings of a metro. Reason I had the line elevated is I mean I didn't want it underground. It's because I'm kind of imagining that with all the lakes surrounding the city, this city would have a higher than average table of water, so I just think it makes more sense having it elevated. So this is, again, it kind of runs through the center with all the stations right there. And again, I tried to space out the stations so it can more quickly go through. Like here by the Royal Square, I only have like two stations that are close to the CBD area right there. I think that's kind of important, so it kind of provides more of a rapid transit throughout the city. Yeah, it kind of comes over here and links up the two sides. Comes over here where I can make transfers with buses, the Gateway District. And then, like, initially I had it terminate here at the airport, but I kind of extended it across the water into New Montreal, this French-speaking suburb over here. What I imagine to be French-speaking. Although I honestly don't like the extension here. I think I may actually make a separate line for New Montreal. So yeah, that's kind of it so far. For next line, we'll kind of now discuss the streetcars. We've got the Maple Leaf streetcar line. I feel like that's appropriately Canadian sounding, personally, even though I'm not Canadian. We've got the kind of terminates here at the blue line, and as you can kind of see, it kind of heads through the corner of Vermilion and heads up near Royal Square, which is the CBD. Here kind of makes a loop in the CBD, which I think is cool, and so that's another suggestion when you're another way of terminating streetcar lines. You can have them form a loop, and if you're using another streetcar line, you can have them go the other way and terminating at that loop. And then this streetcar line is it's called like City Shores, as you can see, and largely just runs along the shore right here. Kind of connects up there with the passengers coming in from the cruise lines, and it kind of comes over here, terminates at the Jade Shores district. So I kind of like that. I also really like the looping lines there. Credit to Sam Burr for coming up with that idea in one of his videos on public transportation. And then we've got Crown streetcar line. Kind of terminates here, crosses the Maple Leaf line, stops near Briarwood City Park, stops by the monorail, and then crosses the Green Shores line. So I kind of like that because it kind of connects up with a number of transportation areas. It kind of comes out here and connects the Green Shores connector line right there, as you can see right here. Speaking of the Green Shores connector, I kind of wish, I think in a previous video I said bifurcated bus. What I really meant to say was articulated bus, but yeah, unfortunately we don't get articulated buses. So, but because regular buses can handle it, I decided to use the next best option, which was the streetcar line. That's why I call it the Green Shores connector. So that's kind of what I got here. So it kind of runs up and down. Next we've got the ferry system. So again, I tried not to use any bridges, which I mean it would be really unusual for a city not to with this kind of water layout. But yeah, here we've got a ferry line at the end. Kind of connects up Green Shores to the industrial sector. Though I kind of imagine I made a mistake in putting it at the ferry line right here. I probably should have put it up in Jade Shore, so it'd be much closer to the transit hub. Would have opened up the options much more for residents of Green Shores. So it's kind of unfortunate mistake on my part. In terms of the other transport, we've got this kind of three lines that connect up New Burnaby, New Montreal, and Montrose right here. So I kind of think that's interesting. Yeah, let's try to see. Can't see the blue that's kind of highlighted there, but we've also got, yeah, these three lines. And the last line is the Garland ferry line, which runs on this lake, like in between the University of Montrose, which again, this came out before. Oh, that's not good. Ignoring that, this is where the ferry line kind of runs in between the Garland district and University of Montrose. Then buses. It's kind of the last thing. I'm not going to go through every bus because, like, quite frankly, there's quite a number of them. But usually for the buses, they usually kind of had about 3 or 4 roles for them. Usually they were just, some of them are express buses. They're usually just meant to get people from like A to B. And we've got buses that help to serve the main transport for to connect outlying low density suburbs with lower density suburbs, I should say, with up with Montrose and other higher transportation capacity options. And then also I've got some buses that are meant to help fill in gaps in Montrose itself between the higher capacity transport lines. So as an example of express bus, we've got this ferry to ferry bus line here. Kind of connects this Garland ferry, kind of heads along here, a little bit past Royal Square, and it kind of connects up immediately over here. So there's only like 2 stops for that line. I think it's useful for getting people from both of the ferries across both ferry systems. And we've got this example, this B1 line. Kind of connects through. It's from the ferry line. Kind of helps also connect up this neighborhood it runs through. But also stops at the monorail line right there. And then over here it just terminates by the Crown line. So yeah. And it's kind of an example of an outlying service bus. We've got the Fremont, which kind of starts here at New Montreal. Kind of stops over here at the industrial park, so that's where people can stop and get off for getting to their jobs there. And then hopefully I'm not going too fast here, so let me know in the comments if I am. Kind of comes this way. You've got like a nature preserve park there. Kind of comes this way and heads to this small suburb town of Fremont here, and then heads over this way into like this partial highway area, and then stops here at the Gateway District, where residents can either get on the transfer the monorail or get onto this Vermilion suburban bus, which again just kind of runs over here to this suburb, Oak Hills, Vermilion, and then kind of terminates here at this section with the blue frequent service line heavy rail, and then the Maple Leaf streetcar lines. So yeah, so this is a basic overview of my public transportation, and hopefully that can help everyone kind of have an idea. And that's a lot of helicopters right there. So try not to lose my train of thought. Let's take a look at stats. Also, everyone's free to use the names for the transit systems I have, transit lines, if they want to, like in their own games or even in real life. So I'll just put that out there. So let's go to stats. So as you can see, we've got about almost like around 10% of the population is using public transportation, so I think that's okay. I think if I put in a new monorail line, hopefully I can get those numbers up. So, and of course, that's about 73% for cars, for traffic flow. But I think it's okay, because again, I'm trying not to use highways, so this is or bridges for that part, for car traffic. So I think this is so naturally you're gonna get some more congested streets. So hopefully if I build out like a new monorail line, which I may do in a future video, that'll help take care of that. So yeah, so this is my city as it is so far.